Taking on one Superman is already an incredible challenge that demands the most complex technology, magical space rock MacGuffins, and a strong sense of plot armor to actually get away with. But this is something that Batman, the one member of the Justice League who doesn't even have superpowers, has been able to do time and time again. But what happens when he comes face to face with the clean-shaven mustache of Omni Man, or the narcissistic Homelander? Welcome all you beautiful ladies and animals as we delve into a series of kind of lightning rounds, facing Batman up against a litany of Superman clones, not just the evil ones, but others like him as well. As always, if you like this and you want more, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you're here for all future videos. But let's lay some ground rules before we get into it. First off, we need a canonized version of Batman. After 70 years of comics, games, and movies, there are so many different versions of Batman with so many different scales to his power. And for today, we'll be using the Injustice Batman, the one who actually took down Superman in his own suit of hyper-powered armor, and with the help of Lex Luthor was able to produce a performance-enhancing Tren that makes him not exactly as strong as Superman, but strong enough to survive a few punches. Spoilers for Injustice, but don't forget, even the Batman who faced this fascist regime-based Superman still didn't kill him, choosing instead to send him into the Phantom Zone. The most extreme threat he sends Soup's way is telling Clark he would turn off his powers with gold kryptonite. God, I fucking hate comic books. So unlike a few other edgy Batmen, Injustice Batman doesn't kill. He doesn't kill psychopaths like the Joker even after he nukes an entire city. And he doesn't kill Clark even after Superman went on to murder dozens of other heroes and world leaders, and even threatened to use Brainiac's technology to subjugate the entire world. But Bruce didn't seem to care. Guess his moral code is more important than saving lives. If I kill just once, I won't be able to stop myself. Batman, your whole thing is self-control and willpower. All you gotta do is murk the Joker once, not go through and execute every psycho in Arkham. But with that established, let's run through some Superman clones, or, Superman-adjacent characters, and see how they can be beaten and figure out if Bruce has what it takes to take them down, without killing them. You ever wonder what would happen if Superman had worse mental health and a built-in self-destruction button? Well, meet Sentry. This guy is basically Marvel's answer to Superman, except instead of a weakness to green space rocks, the biggest threat to him is himself. With the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, because comic books, like Americans, refuse to use regular methods of measurement, Sentry is the kind of powerhouse that makes even Thor and the Hulk hesitate. But Batman isn't fighting just any version of Sentry, he's fighting the one who flips between heroic Golden Boy and schizophrenic reality-obliterating Nightmare, depending on how bad his day is. So how does Injustice Batman fare against someone whose worst enemy is his own reflection? Well, that's where things get tricky. Sentry is like unbeatable. Technically, the man is immortal, flies around, and kinda just does whatever he feels like. You can see him doing just this in the new Thunderbolts trailer, where the guy just casually shadows people away. Now, how do you fight that? There's the trick question. You don't. At least Batman won't. It takes Thor hitting the guy with Mjolnir when he's begging to be put down to only momentarily take the guy out. Now the lucky part is that Sentry doesn't want to be a bad guy. He would want to be a hero like Batman, but the Void, his darker half, just wants to kind of kill people pretty indiscriminately. Now, for Bruce, he needs to be able to talk Sentry into collapsing the Void without one or either of the schizophrenic personalities turning him into a Kevin Conroy-shaped shadow on the floor. Now, is this something Bruce can do? Maybe. Truth be told, with a problem like this, it's the sort of question that comes down to who's writing the script. How stable is the Sentry? Is he in a good mood? Is he jumpy? Will he give Bruce a chance? Or will he see the dark black armor and ears and assume he's some sort of bat devil here to try and take him on? Bruce has a long list of psychopathic villains he's tried to talk down from enormous cliffs. But this is more than Dr. Freeze or Bane. This is all of them, but also with the power of 100 quintillion joules. Okay, A million exploding suns does sound way better here. But what do you think? Let me know down below if you expect Bruce to have the mindset to take Sentry down from the most explosive edge in comic book history, or if his attempt just turns him into billionaire jelly. Adam Warlock, the golden space wizard who looks like if David Bowie and David the statue had a love child. Unlike our other contestants, Warlock isn't just a Superman clone in terms of raw power, he's a whole different breed of comic weirdness. Created to be the perfect being, which in comics usually means glowing and having way too many philosophical monologues, Warlock's abilities include superhuman strength, energy manipulation, and literal resurrection. Like with Sentry, Batman's usual bag of tricks, gadgets, prep time, and mind games only goes so far. But Warlock isn't just a brute force matchup. He's incredibly intelligent, strategic, and is a whole magical space cocoon that lets him rethink his entire life every time he dies. Basically, he's what would happen if Batman himself had a built-in save file, and was kind of like a god. But again, Warlock isn't inherently a bad guy. He's more often than not a good guy. So Bruce doesn't really need to fight him. But if he did, well, this is where Batman's role in the Justice League is most important. See, despite being number 2, if not number 1 to the Justice League, Bruce isn't doing any of the heavy lifting. He's the plans guy, the smart guy. He could figure out how to beat someone like Brainiac, but he needs the future tech of Cyborg and the absolute muscle of Clark Kent to pull it off. Having a good plan doesn't mean anything if you can't execute it. And unlike Superman, who looks at a chaos gem and falls to his knees, Adam Warlock, along with a lot of the other clones on this list, don't have kryptonite. If you want to keep Warlock down, you need someone strong enough to punch him down. And as a guy who casually wields the Infinity Gauntlet, you need an entire crew of superheroes to outpunch him. On his own, just like Sentry, Batman's only real hope here is to talk it out. Hope that Warlock doesn't toss him into space or turn him into a pile of melted carrot.
Prepare for oblivion into
Now we go from cosmic enlightenment to an overgrown toddler with laser vision. Homelander is what happens when Superman has zero moral compass, zero humility, and way too much corporate sponsorship. He's got all of Superman's abilities: flight, super strength, heat vision, but none of the restraint. Instead of fighting to protect people, he fights for PR approval ratings. Now, this matchup is interesting because, in theory, Homelander should have every advantage over Batman. He's faster, stronger, and can literally melt faces with a glance. But let's be real, Homelander is arrogant as fuck. He underestimates opponents constantly because he's never really had to fight someone who can outthink him or really outpower him. And that's where Batman thrives. Not only is Bruce so much smarter than Homelander, so much better with PR, and so much better with mind games, but Injustice Bruce would be juiced up just enough that while like the others, Homelander doesn't have a kryptonite, but with the Superman pills he brings along, Batman, the same Batman who goes toe-to-toe with Wonder Woman, Kal-El, Hal Jordan, and others, could actually outfight the Homelander. Because he doesn't have to win, he would just need Homelander to lose, to jump him and make him feel weak, make him feel like the Batman, this strange, unknowable creature of the night, is stronger than him, to prey on Homelander's fear and turn him into a greater mess of a man than he already is. Now, could Batman be strong enough to incapacitate Homelander? Likely. The super pill put him roughly on the same terms as, well, Superman. Alongside an enhanced suit, Homelander is barely strong enough to lift an airplane. Now, he's certainly strong, but not Superman strong. If Butcher on heroin and Dean Winchester can beat him up pretty bad, I'm sure Batman, with a much more extensive history of combat prowess, could get one over on him. But it's not just hitting him, it's keeping him down. If in the DC universe, best bet would be to ship Homelander off to the Phantom Zone, where fascist Clark Kent would rip him a new one. But in the world of the boys, Bruce is kind of at a stopping point. He'd have to convince and or help Vought to create some sort of restraint for the planet's strongest toddler. Possible, but much harder than straight up killing him or throwing him to a void with no key. And after just about 2 losses, or more accurate 2 instances of talking it out, I'm gonna give Bruce his first dub against the Homelander. Before we get into this one, and the next, blanket spoilers for nothing major, but yeah. The Immortal isn't the most powerful Superman clone out there, but he does have one key trait that makes this fight more unique. He doesn't stay dead. He's basically the Highlander of superheroes. Cut him down and he just keeps coming back for more. This guy has been around for centuries, fought in every major war, and somehow, despite all of that experience, still gets his head popped like a soda can, at least once per season. But let's talk about why this is actually bad news for Batman. Unlike the other fighters, who either outclass him completely or can be outwitted, the Immortal has endurance. He's not... but he will keep coming back, which again, of course, the Immortal is a good guy. He'd be on Batman's side. Hell, he's already got a discount of Bruce on the Guardians of the Globe. But I wanted to throw in the Immortal just as a thought experiment, but unlike the rest of these, the Immortal is one case where Bruce won't really care if he kills the 14th president. As the name implies, he's immortal. Like Ra's al Ghul, no matter how many times the Immortal is ripped apart by a bear, shot in the Ford Theater, or ripped apart by Omni Man, or even hypothetically put down by Batman, he'll get right back up, but he needs his body parts to be laid close enough to regenerate anyways. And unlike a lot of other examples, in the universe of Batman is basically right at home with a bunch of great value variants of all his buddies from the Justice League. Because, like Homelander, while Immortal is weaker than everyone else on this list, he's still tough enough to give Omni Man a general challenge, mainly due to his skill in combat, dying and coming back so many times. So likely strong enough and skilled enough to give even an augmented Bruce a decent run for his money, so unless he's got some backup from the heroes of the universe, he's going to be matched roughly right down the middle against Immortal. Oh boy. This is the one we were all waiting for. Omni Man, the walking, talking genocide machine from... If Superman had zero restraint and a dad complex big enough to cover the entire planet, you'd get this guy. Unlike Homelander, Omni Man isn't just an unstable man-child, he's an actual trained warrior from a species that conquers planets pretty much for fun. He's thousands of years old and respected wide and far by his own species of genocidal Kryptonians. Batman has fought a lot of superpowered beings in his time, but Viltrumites, that's a whole different league of trouble. He's dealing with a guy who can pulverize entire cities, outspeed anything Batman can throw at him, and most importantly, has no hesitation about killing him instantly. Unlike Superman, there's no talking Omni Man down. No, but I know there's still good in you moment. This is a pure fight for survival. So how does Injustice Batman approach this? How does he handle someone who isn't going to hold back? How does he try to outthink Omni-Man, or does he pull out every single ounce of tech, strategy, and desperation to at least just survive? Well, this is where the kryptonite argument from when I threw him at Warhammer comes into play. He can't outpunch Nolan. He can't weaken him with a green space rock or appeal to his humanity. At least when it comes to pre-Chicago Omni-Man for sure. He needs some muscle to carry the weight. Otherwise, well, you kinda get this.
I miss the people we were then.
Me too.
But that's the obvious answer. Now, what we need to know is what happens when Bruce gets his boyfriend. And well, Superman gets his flowers before laying them on Nolan's grave. Yes, Nolan is strong. My man wipes out civilizations on a Tuesday afternoon, but he's the former, the knockoff, the parody. Superman, Clark Kent, he's the comic book hero. Kal-El's strength is infinite. If he hits Nolan and Omni Man blocks it, Kent is just gonna hit him harder, especially an older, matured Superman working alongside Batman. Without kryptonite, there's nothing that Omni Man could do to even harm Clark. Could he throw him around, the two going at it a little bit? Yeah. Nolan's probably even a better fighter, considering a lot of his martial prowess includes fighting people that are more on his level. But Superman pulls planets. That whole Viltrumites crack through a planet thing I've shown off in a few different videos about now? Yeah, that's like middle of the road in terms of difficulty for Superman. Skin peeling off of Mark and Thrag as they fight in the sun's core, doing that would just make Clark stronger. Nolan is a powerful fighter and one of the strongest Viltrumites in the universe. But Clark Kent is the original, the Superman, the traditional Boy Scout whose strength of purity and honesty is almost as strong as his fists. Now, the two combined with Kent's lungs and Bruce maybe putting together the fact that Omni Man would be weak to sound, they wouldn't really need it. Superman is faster, stronger, and more durable when switching blows against Omni Man, no matter how tough he may be to those way below him. Now against just Bruce, even if he figured out the sound weakness, something that was discovered in the TV show really by accident, Omni Man sweeps. He's tantamount to a force of nature. Just like Darkwing, Batman would go... Also, I meant to include it and I totally forgot. Metro Man, obviously, one of the most famous Superman clones. I'm not going to speak on whether or not he beats Batman, because we kind of know how that goes. But I will say, Metro Man slams the entire Warhammer 40k universe. That's it. Bye.
So, you're the punk I've heard about.
So like many of Batman's own rogues gallery, taking on these gods among men is less a case of outpunching them and instead outthinking them, making peace with them and appealing to their better judgment. Except for Nolan, there's not a lot he can do there, but that's mainly because of a thing I echoed in the video about Batman in Warhammer 40k. Batman's whole thing of planning ahead and getting people's weaknesses to use against them only works in a world where Superman is afraid of space emeralds, Aquaman is useless on the surface, and Green Lantern still can't stand the color yellow. Against characters like Nolan, Homelander, or Sentry, there is no magical cure-all for their abilities. It's not something Marvel and a lot of other comics, especially more contemporary ones, tend to do. But he's still smart and still a valuable member of the Justice League, even if he's not doing all the heavy lifting. As always, big thank you to all the members and patrons who help me continue to make new videos. If you're unaware, you can become a member for just $1 a month and get access to member-exclusive polls to vote for which videos come first, get videos early, and more behind the scenes. And go to the links below to grab some of my charity merch. 100% of the proceeds I make from this gets donated directly to my local food bank. But as always, stay cool, have fun, and be awesome. Buster out.